Here, so they're so.
Start something soon. It took a while to get
Well, yeah, because I met that well, it's getting close to winter. You know, it's like, what, you know.
well, in some of those facilities, like we're applying for now for like next year's.
It's enough to put in my
Gotcha.
paving stuff. right?
So golf,
That's just.
Jim said Tony won the memorial.
We're still working on it.
The free memorial.
It's rolling anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just hadn't heard anything, so not that there's anything here or no, but
Talk about
I
it.
can't like to get mine fixed, but I don't want to fix it. You know, I mean, it's functionable, so it's not the
So
end of
it's
the
not,
world.
and yeah,
Back
it's
to
not
the
the worst
drawing
thing.
board, but I don't want
Right.
to do it again in January, February, and then I'm digging up a frozen.
Yeah, for
ground.
15.
Yeah. Which is what usually
I
happens
know.
with them the first time.
Well, I don't think there's ever a good.
No, that's true. Having your sewer problems never.
No.
And we only have to spend one night in Bozeman now, so that's good. We're not starting until later. Later Thursday.
Got it down to $10,000 one night.
Yeah, well, it's not too bad. I was really surprised. Super 8 was only 100 and like 170, 180 bucks a night.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Still
And it's
super
yeah,
eight.
you're paying 180 bucks.
Super eight is
Super
just
eight,
$3.90.
I used to be 40 bucks a
It
night.
used to be $8. That's what they got the name.
Yeah.
They'll leave the light on for you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Motel 6.
You rented that and didn't even stay there. You just had to stay there to store stuff.
You're right. It's gonna be rent.
Got it all. On your tablet now. Microsoft tablets. You know, there it is. Right on time. Cutting her close.
True.
I think I saved the room for Saturday night. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you. Not Friday. Friday and Saturday. Oh, okay. 'Cause I thought it was Friday, Saturday. And it's Thursday, Friday. It's Thursday, Friday.
All right, we're 7 o'clock.
Yeah, we're there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah. I thought it was green. Anybody else?
Getting up and running there, Stan, so. Roll call, we're all here.
Yep.
Okay. Stand up there, we'll have approval of tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda with the addition of 10.1 coaching recommendation for middle school volleyball.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All those in favor? All right, on to public comment or questions. Anybody have anything to say that's not on the agenda? Okay. We're gonna move on to the consent agenda.
Move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've been moving second, any discussion?
They do have a couple,
Yes.
just real quick, they're mainly just, so, the audit service is 24,000.
Yeah. Ouch, right? Every
Yeah.
school above $300,000 is required to do an A-133 audit. And ours cost $24,000 last year, and we signed a 3-year deal that'll cost a similar with
Does
increase.
it go up?
Yeah.
I know we have
It will-
we have to pay like close to 12,000 for just.
For the towns, right? So it's 24 for
Yeah.
ours.
And you guys
Um,
have a lot.
It's 3 days. We have about I would say probably a 30-year history with this auditor. So that's valuable, at least to us, and as far as how the process works. But yeah, they're not cheap. Anybody who's shopping will attest to that. I think superintendents have shopped for audits and found that they're not, the going rate's not any better.
Do they have to be on the local or the, like, because for the town, we have to pick one off the local government audit list. Like, we can't just pick anybody, they have to be on a list for the state.
Preferred list.
Oh,
Yeah.
honestly, I don't know. Volusia,
Oh.
Higgins, or Whitfield, they.
Oh,
have been
yeah,
audit
'cause I've
services
heard people-
for-
Towns use them. So, anyway,
Many times they do towns, they do municipals, they also have
Special districts. probably.
50 districts in the state, I believe. And we're the first one done for the year, already done, so that's why that bill's in.
And then, Mission Valley Power, it looks like there's 2 bills.
Yeah. We, so, the credit card bill, the statement, has 2 charges to it. Mission Valley Power's bill comes out, the 9th, 7th, something like that. So anyway, I hit it both on the same cycle. So you're looking at August and September's, energy bill. One of them, due to, the amount of charges that we had on the credit card, I waited for a little bit and make sure we had enough going into the opening of the school year, and then I put it on the credit card. So
And, spank you with a late fee.
they didn't, no, because I was not late. I pushed it
Paid it
to
early.
Oh, I see.
instead of paying it the day it came out, I pushed it to the end of the term just to make sure we had enough credit line. And when we did, I paid it on.
On both, yeah.
Yep.
Same deal with public services. It looks like we have 2 pretty big bills for the,
That one I'm gonna do an audit of. That was out of the ordinary. So I'm gonna have to take a look with Steve and what our, at least what our August and beginning of September pickup was, and whether or not that was an anomaly or whether or not they raised the rates. So I'm in the process of doing an audit now.
I was wondering about, the stuff that was behind the old bus point. We cleaned that up. It looks like it much improved.
Okay.
I was wondering if that was,
That's a possibility. So
they hauled that away. And
I'll start with Steve on that one, talk with him and discuss like what the actual pickup. There's also, we do have a fee annually for the compactor. And it's possible that might be part of the bill as well. But regardless, it was on that bill and then this current one were increased over what they normally are, so.
Yeah, but twice.
Yeah.
And then finally, one question, I know this is, maybe I've asked this before, the transportation. And I think I've seen this before, transportation says August and September routes.
So last few days of August and then through
Okay.
September. Jeff you probably haven't asked him because it's your first beginning of the year board meeting. Jeff's initial payment after a long summer, much like everybody who works at a school district and has to try to make those checks last. Jeff gets his initial payment for that month up front, but most of the time we carry the last week of August with September. So that's all one bill for his first month of service.
So that isn't, because I was always under the impression that the district couldn't pay for contracted services until the service had been provided.
We could take a look into that. We
I'm just
have
curious.
paid it. That's been the practice with that one long before I was probably out of elementary
Next
school.
month, we'll just see it on October.
You'll just see one. It'll be October's.
Cool, that's all I have.
Anybody else? All those in favor of tonight's agenda? Or consent agenda? All right, correspondence, retirement fund update.
All right, I'm up again. Jason, will you click on that for me?
Yep.
So this came in Friday while I was judging hay bales for homecoming. At the very last minute, I got a call from Carolyn Hall. We had questions about the retirement fund when we did the budget and what looked like we had gone into our reserves. And I told you I thought it was maybe some taxes that hadn't been paid yet. Come to find out, it was money that hadn't been distributed properly. The gal who was up there had put it into the wrong fund or didn't distribute it out. So we had, we were guessing that we were going to have about, will you click on the high school retirement page. And it's probably not going to call itself up. I'm gonna walk you guys through it because it's hopefully this will work here. I forgot it's an Excel spreadsheet. I should be able to. There we go. Okay, let's see if we can see it here. Well, it also comes from the county, so like if it won't download properly.
Oh, here we go.
Perfect. Okay, so if you go to St. Ignatius over in column J, right underneath that 25%, there was a budgeted amount of $575,000 that we were supposed to bring in from county distribution. At the bottom, you can see totals, an amount of $545,968.09. That's what was booked for the year 23-24. Underneath that, you'll see the difference of $29,411.26. That's the amount that was missing. Okay. Carolyn was able, and the rest of the crew up there were able to track that down. However, what that required was we had to essentially go back, change our trustees to report that money coming in the next fiscal year. So this coming fiscal year, that would then change our budget and our reserves. So I had to do both of those things. Transfer retirement doesn't affect us locally because it's a county-wide permissive levy. So you wouldn't see the levies go up or down because of that, but it did end up reallocating some of our funds. So we would be not hitting the taxpayers to cover that $30,000 since that was already in place. We just had to find it, which the county did. So I had to adjust that. And then I will also have to adjust the audit, which was just submitted probably the day before, I believe, is when Tony told me he submitted the audit. And then we get the call from Carolyn that said that we need to do an adjustment with our trustees and our 23-24 revenue. So we'll have to go back and adjust that as well. But long story short, that $29,411 is at the county, and it will now be booked to St. Ignatius School District just in the 24-25 school year.
So it was there and it didn't get
distributed correctly.
didn't bring you.
And because it was on the county, we don't have to file an amended budget or any.
No, the budgets hadn't. So yes, we did amend our budget, but none of that had been finalized by the county yet. So Carolyn was able to find it,
Before they
and
approved it.
so she hadn't signed it, so they hadn't approved it with the county commissioners or anything. So she went back through. We hustled through on Friday night, rebooked it in, fixed our reserves, and everything's cleaned up now. So it was more clerical than anything, but it was a clerical error of about $30,000. So
I don't see that number in there. The 20 million.
So under St. Ignatius,
Yeah, that
your
was the same thing.
spreadsheet needs to be.
if you're using Google Docs, it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's why I looked up there.
So I would say, yeah, it took me a long time to get that.
Okay. Why is, this is probably a dumb question, why is our percentage and dollar amount so much higher than anybody else?
The percentage up at the top
Right.
and the dollar amounts. Well, so I can answer to the dollar amount. You're going to see this, like, we're K-12, so everything's booked into high school. If you look at the spreadsheets, there's going to be an elementary and a high school retirement. They come out in different spreadsheets. You're only seeing the one. So Anybody that's split districts, you're gonna see those numbers be.
But Missoula's is quite a bit smaller.
Well, Missoula's is quite a bit smaller because they're only paying for kids that are coming from the Frenchtown area or the Harley Frenchtown crossover. Essentially, is what you have there. So that's not a dumb question, Mr. Marchant.
The top percentage of your
The top percent, I can't tell. This is not my spreadsheet.
The percents are all pretty consistent.
Right. I can't take a quiz on what the spreadsheet is because I didn't make it. So I don't know what the percents on the top mean, but
Percent of the day, I guess, are pretty
Yeah.
consistent.
So are there, there are some months where there's no distribution and everything like that?
yes. Your major distributions to that fund are gonna be in November and May, and that'll be after your county or your taxes are collected.
Is that, what hashtag value means? It's just an empty cell?
Hashtag value was just, I couldn't
No,
answer
your
that.
hashtag value means your cell isn't wide
Yeah.
enough, so it will display.
It's not open.
Yeah, it's hard, it's
Hard to do and just Google that.
Mhm.
Yeah, just, I'm gonna look at that. A little bit of that.
And I'm sure Carolyn would be happy to answer any questions you have regarding her retirement and GTB spreadsheet. But I'm using this as information for you as to that one number at the bottom and how that relates to us.
interesting.
So,
As you said, 2.2 mil, and the way those rates on top are is 25% of that is paid out to, is collected for St. Ignatius.
Right, and that's our entire K-12. That's not
Yep.
just our high school.
And then the bottom percent to date just means
How
that
much it's funded.
94% of that has been funded.
Correct.
So there's 29 missing.
okay. And does that require action on our part?
No, it doesn't. No. We had already taken action. We'd set the budget. We didn't change the budget amount at all, the number that you had to approve, but on their end, Carolyn wanted to reallocate those funds before she approved it on the county commissioner end.
So that's shown in your FY25
Yeah.
budget report.
Yeah.
Two documents you also have attached.
So Jason, if you would go to back out to there. The first one is your budget summary report. This is the one that we voted on. If you look at retirement fund 14 in the middle, I'll just right here, we were at 18% or under our allowed adopted reserve amount. Okay. We were still going to hit this number of 709,000. However, we did not have an unreserved fund balance, and we were going to only be able to take out 128,000 in reserves. Will you go to the next one on there? I'll show them the difference. Okay. So with that, once we were getting that money come back in, we went above our reserve amount, which meant we could actually take the full 20,000 or 20%. So that bumped up our reserve that we can hold in place to 141,800, which means the difference went as an unreserved fund balance reappropriated, meaning our actual amount that the county will have to ask for is 693,000 versus the 709,000 that we had originally. So by finding that money that was not there, Carolyn was in essence trying to lower the county's tax liability for the upcoming year. And that's what we had agreed to work on.
Because it already was an increase of like 59,000.
It was an increase of 59,000, but that was due to two things, and we discussed that at the budget hearing. We are being asked by the Missoula Co-op to cover $18,000 of retirement for their employees. That was part of the whole, their inability to be able to wash those funds through the same way without a lack of a better term. And then we actually spent upwards of $629,000 plus of retirement last year. So what we projected, we were more than, so we had to increase our retirement to cover that 18,000 plus what we were projecting to have being paid out for our own people.
What position does Superintendent Sargent hold in the co-op? Are you as part of the?
Missoula Co-op,
Yeah,
I'm a board member.
just like all superintendents are. Is there a head of the board or?
Yeah, also a superintendent.
Does that rotate around?
What's
Does
that?
that rotate around
Yeah, you have to be nominated,
elected each year?
Yeah.
But you're not currently the chairman.
not the chairman.
There's no action, so I mean, any other questions, I definitely will entertain, but you guys are really, this was more informational to let you know what we worked on while we were judging hay bales, and we were able to get it through just in time so that the county commissioners could sign it and basically try to save the county some money on their end, money that was already there.
So you've already submitted the amended.
Yes. Yeah.
And you think the retired treasurer came back to help out the replacement for that? Is that your understanding?
Yes,
they have a new one?
that was part of the agreement, and my understanding was that the retired treasurer came in to not even on board because she worked with Rebecca, the current treasurer. I think that they came in to clean up the last 12 months.
They had to do a lot.
This was part of that. They're still finding $30,000 here and there that need to be distributed properly. So
There's a lot of.
this won't be the last one.
No, and there's like municipalities can file tax liens for delinquent taxes, and those did not get done for last year. So
Are there consequences for that?
Well, she quit, so I don't know what. Like the consequences are, it's taken us a lot more work, including something that we just passed last month that we had to go back and adjust. I had to adjust in 3 places, including to an audit that was already finalized for the year. So, and we'll be getting that information back, and I'll share that with you as well.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on. No presentation of old business, board preparation and planning. 9.01, board agenda governance calendar.
Good.
On schedule.
One question on that one, sorry.
Yeah.
September, list and action for bus routes approval, did we?
We did that already.
We already did that.
Probably needs to
I didn't
be
see it
moved
on the
back to-
agenda and I trying to refresh my memory. I thought.
Yeah, it was July or August we did that.
We have another couple of questions, I guess. Or not questions, but Mr. Evans and I met for the buildings, grounds, and maintenance walkthrough. I thought the back of the steam building looked a lot better. Work that went on, they really helped it out. Although we didn't really walk through, I would really like to do that the next time I think the whole meeting was in the office, right? Is that in the September time?
I think it was in the last month. It just said, I think it was in our goals to meet quarterly, probably in the district annual goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, are we supposed to have a superintendent quarterly evaluation or review that?
That was left over. Bob had a quarterly. We do it annually. I should probably clean that up. We do it. Bob did kind of 2 sections each every 3 months, which we do an annual.
Mhm. And have we established a wellness committee?
We have not. We have wellness committee last year, but we have not redone that this year yet. We will.
That's all.
else on the board agenda governance calendar? Okay, district annual goals.
Those are updated for September.
Did have a, maybe this is what I was thinking. Can I discuss that or we're not?
No,
There's
this
no
is,
action.
No,
Cool.
it's just for your info.
Again, that's where I got the September walk from. Yeah, which we took care of. And again, I think the back of the steamboat looks much better. That was in goal area 3. And then goal area 4, I see somebody in it had a draft language about professionalism in the goal area 4. Professionalism in the office. I think that's good. I know that's a tough thing, but a reasonable judgment, I think. So thanks there. Goal area 6. Okay, and goal area 6. That September deadline, is that harming us now, or is that still a good?
it's harming us, yeah.
Right now?
Well, we could be signing up more out-of-district kids for Harmony
Would they be out of district?
if we allowed them, yes. I mean, if we allowed we had a meeting here a week and a half ago. We had probably 14 families here with a couple of them representing 5 families, many of which were from the surrounding area. And they are going to have to sign up with Corvallis this year and would have been interested in signing up here. But since we had the September deadline, it was too late to sign up. By the time we had a meeting, must have been, right at the beginning of September.
Yeah. And that agreement for September 1st is Lake County wide?
Yes.
And are any of those other students interested from Harmony from within Lake County there?
Yes,
But out of district?
but out of district, yeah. All the in-district ones that we could get in by September are in.
Are other schools examining Harmony the same way?
I hope not.
So, I mean, I don't know how much communication or lax that could be to have.
A professional courtesy will be to let them know that we are moving forward with Harmony. I thought about this kind of back and forth both ways, but professionalism would be to let them know.
We're gonna have to send them a bill too, right, if anybody, so they'll know if we do take somebody that's in their district.
It'll not only
It'll all
cost them A and B, but it's also going to cost them to be out of district.
Do we know if the opposite is happening, is somebody taking our students?
No, I mean, there may be
Because of
students,
the-
out of district that may sign up through Corvallis.
That's kind of where I was leading, like Corvallis, the agreement for September 1st is Lake County, not necessarily Corvallis.
So they're still able to sign up with Corvallis, which I believe many of them are, with the assurance from the meeting that we would have that available for them by next year. And they would much rather come through us than Corvallis, obviously.
Do you think it was the folks at Harmony that steered them towards Corvallis, or just? They were
I think just answering
investigating?
questions.
Yeah.
They asked the question and they said that Corvallis would take you.
Statewide, Corvallis will take students, is that?
And we're gonna have to look at that. I mean,
Yeah,
we
that's
could,
gonna be
we
a
could get,
discussion.
we could blow this up as big as we'd like or feel comfortable doing.
But we're mining across districts for students,
Right,
which could get ugly and competitive, right?
yes.
There'll be some statewide policy being adopted if that starts going on. I'm thinking that.
Yeah, I can imagine there's already, Corvallis is probably, but you know, they're every, see what I hear. So Darby does it, Stevensville does it, Corvallis does it. So they're all jumping on board with the route. I would imagine that Lake County will do the same. If they're, I would guess they're gonna jump on board.
So is this, do you think we could move back the September 1 to like October 1st and give them, I mean, obviously they knew the deadline, but maybe they didn't know the deadline.
I didn't want a deadline at all, personally, but,
No, I know, but and I'm not really sure why. I mean, I get why we do it, but it's still,
it was to try to help
shoot
with
yourself in the
clerical part of it, that by October, the count day, and that's when we're going to be trading the funds back and forth. So many of them wanted it clear back in like May. And we were like, no, so many of our kids
Yeah.
sign up, so.
Missoula's is March, really, for the next year. So if you plan on being out of district in Missoula, you have to have it done by March 31st of the previous year.
So in the next year, we're gonna have the discussion, how far do we want it restricted to just, our area, or do we wanna go statewide? And I would probably recommend K-8, possibly opening it up. But, yeah.
so what's the repercussion if we don't go along with Lake County's decision? I mean, that's the school's decision, right? Not
I think
And that's-
we wrote it into our plan.
We voted on it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
but I mean, if we change it,
Because we had to, it's a district, it's a policy and I don't know if we wrote that in our
for a year.
district policy for out of district when we had to add the new policy. So I believe we added it to our district policy.
But yearly. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could change it tomorrow or next month if we wanted. I mean, but then we'd be breaking the agreement that we set for Lake County for this year, which I wouldn't want to.
Well, I'm just saying, if we find out this year we totally hurt ourselves, then, something we should look at next year for sure, not doing what I gotta do.
Or letting people know that they got to make sure they're interested, letting them know that they've got to be signed up by September 1st. If the board decides we're going to accept beyond our general area. Sure.
What else?
Yeah, way down in the blue,
In the what?
in the blue ink section, school information system. Look at 2G, towards the bottom, it's page 9. Are we, what's our relationship with Europe?
I can speak to it. I was going to speak to it in my
Oh,
board
okay,
report,
that's fine.
but
Just-
I could, now is fine. Yeah, the Gear Up grant was a competitive grant that the state failed to meet the competitive, I guess they were not competitive enough to get the grant. So all Gear Up funds in Montana are gone as of the end of this month. They're working on some extension funds. Ms. Redmond sat in on that today, but they're working on the possibility of helping this year's seniors. It sounds like not a lot of money that will be available for our seniors this year. Obviously, way less than what the grant would have brought in, but at this point, they're still trying to, the Hail Marys are still flying as far as the Gear Up grant itself, but we did not get that grant. So the state lost it across, colleges, most reservation schools. Did I miss anything, Ms. Redmond? Just basically, they're doing what they can to piece together some funds for, and we don't know how much, but much less we know.
Yeah, they're recouping some funds. Their state office is scaling way back to like one person for most of the rest of the year to handle everything. So that they can give award districts that say, yes, we'll take it, a bit of money and focused on senior specific items.
When you say they, what do you mean?
Sorry.
OPI.
Oh, closer.
OPI. So the, They
So
are
Gear Up
Gear
is
Up.
with the Board of Higher Ed, it's not with OPI, and it's, so their application at the federal level didn't get approved. There were like 19 or 18 federal applications, and I think she said 8 got approved. If you didn't have a perfect score, you didn't make the cut. If there was an appeal process, the state of Montana would be in the appeal process, because even US Secretary of Ed Cardoza, I don't know, agreed that like the NIC that Montana got was an inappropriate NIC. So they're just surviving on leftover budget money from some programs that were contracted that now are not going to contract within the state anymore for services, because we're not going to be doing all the things. And Band-Aid through kind of this year to support specifically seniors, but then there's stuff that like everybody can show up to that you've targeted seniors, but it's open. And then they're going to put in, Montana's going to apply again for the 2025 cycle to try and become a Gear Up School state award situation again.
So, one of the plans is to drop some of the services that Gear Up offered and to spread them out over the other services that it offered.
So what they're trying to do at the state level is they're working on getting an MOU approved with the Board of Regents and whomever on the other side, a couple of different groups. And then if that's approved, then districts who had Gear Up service all this time can say, yep, that works for us, and we'll participate this year in this really like trimmed down version, since everybody was kind of betting on having something, and now you can have like the end of the loaf of bread and not the whole loaf of bread.
We've committed to that already.
Yeah, and I think it'll be good. So I mean, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And hope it's back next year.
Yeah, and I've told the lady at the state level, I was like, you need data from a school like ours? Let me know. Let's make it happen if we can.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that Zoom was just
Services
this
are
morning, so.
important. But can we call what we do Gear Up? We probably can't, right?
No,
Okay, so we need to come up with another almost Gear Up or.
I don't know. More stuff. It's the stuff.
The biggest panic has been just the lack of money, the positions, right now, this has been a week, so we're still learning. The first webinar was today, and more to come. I think it's gonna be way scaled back, and we'll get the details in terms of what they would like to call that. I think at a later date. I think everyone's just reeling right now with
Right.
what the heck do we do with damage control.
Yeah, they've got, at the state level, I think they've got 5 more employees that are after this week are unemployed. And so it's like, okay, wait, you guys are leaving here, scoop this over here, do this over here. We can do all the end of the reporting with this one lady, hopefully here, and apply for the next one. So from today's Zoom, it was pretty good information. And
Good as you can.
Question, when you were accepted, did you know was it a 5-year? Has it been here 5 years? So you knew that it was gonna be 5, but every year they redo it. So if we were to get it, say the next year, would we guarantee that we'd get it for 5 more?
Gotcha. So I think what you're asking is about like the overall cycle of the funds.
Yeah.
I think they're usually 7-year fund cycles. So like the last time the state of Montana was awarded was 7 years ago. And Mission's been part of all of those application cycles every time. And
25 years.
yeah, and I think it's pretty stable. I'd have to
The
go back and
budget
look.
does fluctuate every year,
Yeah.
so they do, it does depend on what funding does come from the federal government per year. But they have a 5 to 7 year allotment.
Yeah,
And then based on what comes in for Montana, it's distributed out to the districts, and then they work with the Gear Up liaisons to build in the items that they wanted, that were in the plan.
Allotment proposal.
Yeah. Last year it was tailored back quite a bit going into the last year of
It's been
the,
going down.
it's been going down for a few years now. And then last year was almost, pretty bare bones. We had a position, we had a couple of trips, we had maybe some, meals and, really not much for supplies and anything else like that. So it kind of was, they were kind of seeing the downward slope of it at the end, but usually that funding will come in and then they'll make an allotment with the districts and for their plan.
Oh, yeah, I was just curious about that. How we're-
But they will have another submittal cycle next year for.
So they'll apply as the same state entity. Like I said, it's under the Board of Regents and the university system, actually, not OPI and the rest of the stuff we're under. So they'll submit another application that'll be graded. And then the committee will, whoever has the highest scores kind of wins. This competition's stiff though, because everybody that was lost last time probably goes forward to try again. And the people who are up for renewal, like we were on this one, are probably trying to renew. So like if the, I can't think of the words. Appropriations at the federal level doesn't change, then it's the same pot of soup and everybody wants a bigger scoop and there's more people wanting scoops.
Good analogy.
So hopeful and we'll see, and
Super.
trying to do what I can do as is. Then Sarge was like, yep, whatever we'll get, we can take and figure it out. So
Thank you.
Mhm.
And then one final question, towards the end, page 12, CPE courses we need implemented at the school. I thought we had some of these, welding, carpentry, food science.
That's the entire list that we would love to be implemented. Either, sometimes they're in, sometimes they're out, but that's kind of our overarching goal in terms of our vision for CTE would be to hit as many of those. Sometimes we have engineering, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have early child development, sometimes we don't. Some of these that we'd like to, over the years, we've had a majority of these, but these are the ones that we really want to focus on. Intro to Ed, we did 1 year, 2 years.
we have it this year, but it's been a couple since we've had it. So
Yeah.
we kind of rotate through with the number of kids we have.
Hit and miss, depends
Yeah.
on student interests. And
Is, can I just ask, how is flight simulation going?
great, we're waiting on one computer
Oh, yeah,
and so we're off and flying, right?
we'll be tomorrow trainers and iPads right now. I'll be here for training.
Yeah.
That's all
So they flew one today, I believe. So, but yeah, even without the training. So yeah, we have 2 days of training coming up next 2 days.
Anything else? All right, we'll move on to new business, 10.01 coaching recommendation for,
So
middle school
we're
volleyball.
recommending the hiring of Brian Nance. He's helped with the high school programs of all, volunteered at the high school level, middle school level. Right now, we currently have 32 participants and 3 teams. So for proper supervision, the high school numbers don't necessarily necessitate for middle school. We've left it up to the board to make the decisions in terms of when we add an additional coach. There isn't a set number like there is in the high school that says once you hit 27 that we add a coach. And that's the number for the high school. Middle school is currently right now at 32. And so it's really up to the discretion of the athletic director, the superintendent, the principal to put forth a recommendation. And we've all agreed that a third coach would be a good idea with 32 participants and 3 teams to put up an additional net and separate and have an additional coach for middle school volleyball.
Does he bring it? Oh, sorry. Need to wait.
We can vote and then discuss.
When I looked at this on Friday, when it came out, there was an additional position for head baseball coach. Did that get taken off?
This was the agenda item that we added.
Okay, but it's not on the 10.02, it's not anywhere else on here.
No, that's been taken out.
The baseball coach?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Can I ask, does Brian bring in experience with this, or is he just?
A ton of experience.
With volleyball coach?
He's really good. He's gonna be an asset for the volleyball and possibly track program now and down the road.
I make a motion that we recommend hiring Brian Nance for the Liverpool volleyball participant level for proper supervision.
I'll second.
Okay, we're moving second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, 10.02 coaching employment recommendations for middle school football.
So we were still short one football coach, and we're now recommending Troy Mitchell for middle school football. And background check has come in and fine, so we're recommending Troy Mitchell for middle school football.
I'll make the motion to hire Troy Mitchell for middle school football.
I'll second that.
Which one you got, Adam?
I heard Mary.
Okay.
Mr. Marchand was a
All right.
little bit of a mumble, so.
Been moving second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Okay.
Okay, 10.03 volunteer coaching recommendations.
We've decided to compete just like the NFL with football coaches, and we're going to ask for 4 more additional volunteers: Chase Bauer, Jim Peterson, Jacob Charbonneau, and Chris Incashola.
Didn't we do this last season?
Did Charbonneau?
Or did we just do one?
I think we added a name.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all of them. We've had a hard time keeping track. This whole transition has been a little difficult to keep track of what we've done, not done. So
Okay,
this is probably all of them.
okay.
Yeah, the Jim was on
I make the motion to recommend to approve the following volunteer football coaches. Do I need to name them?
there as presented.
Okay, as presented.
I will second that.
Okay, then moving seconded.
Got it. Good enough.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
I got it.
Oh,
Some
sorry, go ahead.
discussion.
Yep, no, I didn't see those.
And probably down the road, like next year, prior to the season beginning, it's probably the best time. So they haven't been at practice on 3 games. In case something should happen, you had an incident, because background checks have been, I'm sure, been done on all, because that's also part of the deal. So everybody that's volunteers and
And you could still have them just so everybody understands, they can still volunteer. The liability for approval from the board is it gives them the opportunity, I guess, to approve them. Until they've been approved by the board, they can't be alone with any students in terms of, you could have a guest come in and volunteer. You could have volunteers as long as they're not alone without supervision of one of the hired coaches. But it's been our practice to make sure the board is aware of any volunteers. But I agree 100%. We would
Yeah.
love to have that done prior to the season starting. Yeah, and that'll be cleanup that we're working on.
the head coach is right
And
at the lead of this whole process.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yes, yes. So yes, that is the goal, and we'll strive to do a better
Yeah,
job.
I realize it's transition.
Yeah.
UAT and whatnot. So
Okay, anything else? All those in favor? 10.04 employment for subs.
So new subs, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 new subs.
I make a motion that we recommend hiring the following subs. All the background checks have been completed. Janelle Benefield, Eric White Damon, Ray Lovato, and Celeste Novak.
I'll second.
Okay, we move in second. Any discussion?
The list, got a good list of sub this year, just.
Yeah, it's actually, we're in a better position for subs than we've been in a long time. It's good so far. But still, it seems like there's always days that you're still short, but a better list than we've had, so that's good.
And Celeste sub before.
Yes.
She was a para for us for
Oh,
a year.
and she needs to be, we're hiring her for a sub.
She was a para and then she resigned and then looks like she's coming back as a substitute, so. Took a year off, protocol. Do we have a motion? Yes, we
Do we
do.
have a second?
Yes, we do.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor? All right, 10.05, we have a list of out-of-district students.
And then executive content, anybody have questions?
I'll make a motion to accept out of district students listed in executive content.
I'll second that.
Okay, we move in second in, very limited discussion can be had with executive content, so all those in favor?
You can just, I could,
Sorry,
just, they all came in before the deadline, is that how that could happen?
And these are all the, how many?
No, I think only one or,
No, yeah, I thought we had more than.
we've had some that were already in district. We have quite a few in district with Harmony,
Just
but
one.
out of district, yeah, that's just one this month. For out of district.
Yeah.
And I think we, like I said, we would have had more had the deadline not been the first. Next year, would be most of it. It's up to you.
Well, I mean,
Decide.
wouldn't that be constant moving target? I mean, at some point we gotta pick up a date and go, that's it, you know? Move it to October first, we'll have kids on, you know, I don't know, at some point we need to.
Yeah, it's good to have the September 1st, I guess, in terms of, because, you know, you gotta have them in before that October count. So,
And
I believe it's, what, 5 days before that,
They count 10, 10.
10 days
It's
before.
10 seated days before, so.
We need that. So it's good. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good date. We just gotta do a better job of advertising, but it's, as much as you advertise and talk about it, you still gotta come up, especially with something new like Harmony.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, that concludes new business. We move on to reports, enrollment summary.
Not on, no.
The numbers. Yeah, at the 2024-2025 numbers are different from the principal's reports.
And our
Is there one
infinite,
that's more accurate than the other? I mean, it's only like 1 or 2 kids in the.
yeah, our infinite camp, I can explain that real quick. It's just the elementary on the principal's report does not include the 3-year-olds that
The
infinite
Head
campus.
Start, the
Head
Head Start kids
Start
that are
kids.
served through special education, are counted probably in Mr. Sargent's report. They're not counted in mine. My report is the kids that are in my building enrolled in our TKO through 5th grade in the building. That's it.
Does that, does your number include the out-of-district students that we just approved?
Yes, but not the Harmony students.
No Harmony
I
students.
I think next month, maybe. I was gonna see if the number increased, but I would assume the Harmony students are gonna be included in that now.
if they were registered before I did this report last week, they'd be on mine. I've always just done the Infinite Campus count, and like I said, it's 1 or 2 kids, but
Yeah.
I've always done it with those 1 or 2 kids, so.
I go through the specific class, so I'll go to like this kindergarten class, count, this kindergarten class, count. It's how many physical bodies I have on campus.
Or in Harmony eventually.
Yes.
Do you think there'll be a breakdown of how many Harmony versus how many in person?
We could do that.
I don't know,
Yeah.
just for information only.
Yeah.
Because they're all counted as A and B.
Yeah.
People, so.
Yeah, we can give you that. Well, next year, whether we get it, actually, we can do it this year. At the end of the year, it'll be in our end of the year report, kind of how many we had. We can break that down at the end of the year for you guys. Yeah, for sure.
Anything else? Move on to administration and leadership. Michelle, I guess you would be up first.
Yeah, I don't have much of anything to add. I think the big one for us is just the second bullet point here is making sure that your teachers have a seat at the table as we develop this kind of unknown relationship with Harmony and plan for the charter school. We bring a really important perspective in terms of, for example, just to give you an example, the deadline, September 1st. Well, it affects teachers because if you don't keep that deadline, we can have some real surprises in our actual physical enrolled students that can affect a teacher's workload, specifically in the area of special education, and have in the past couple of years to an extreme amount, in fact, losing a teacher after the start of the school year because of the heavy workload caused by new students just showing up that were unexpected. So that's just an example of a perspective that you might not hear if you don't ask for that perspective. So in terms of Harmony, just making sure, if teachers are being asked to do something that has to do with Harmony, that we know ahead of time and can have discussion around that and make sure that we're all comfortable with whatever's being asked in that regard and moving forward. So far, everything looks good. I'm really glad we're doing it in order to continue to improve our enrollment numbers and all that. Just make sure that we're there in that discussion. So yeah, thank you.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, move on to technology. Mr. Nisper.
Not a lot. This is just a whole bunch of, here's what's happening. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but there's nothing major that I feel needs any immediate attention.
Mr. Nisberg,
Yes, sir.
It's Starlink item number 3. Is that something we don't need, or?
Well, that's a great question. Right now, it's not hugely expensive. I believe that having a backup internet service provider is a good idea. I think we're very lucky that Blackfoot is as reliable as it is. If it's up to me, I say we should have some kind of a backup. And that seems to be our best option at this point. I guess best case scenario is to have a backup that you never have to use. I guess that's a philosophy question, ultimately. But I would recommend keeping some kind of backup. And Starlink is a pretty cost-effective way to do that. Would be my recommendation.
But it's not running particularly well? Is that what I'm reading?
I've had some issues with the dish in the past. We've had it replaced now, but the dish in the past, the problem was that a good problem to have, Blackfoot was so reliable that I didn't know when the Starlink dish was down. And it would be down for a month at a time, and nobody knew because we didn't need to use it. So I've implemented some automatic testing that will, and some other things. I'm going to have a couple of devices just running just through Starlink. That way we both keep it running and are using it a little bit, and also we'll have a heads up when it goes down so that we can have an idea when that happens.
And one more, number 18. What is BARC?
BARC is a free service that we use. The building admins, Shannon, I think Cassie as well. Anytime a student is logged in with their school account, either on premises or off, on school grounds, they are always, to use the Chromebooks, they have to be. Off school grounds, they can still log into their accounts to do homework and whatever at home. But if they're doing anything untoward or looking at things they maybe shouldn't be looking at or communicating with people they shouldn't be communicating with, we get alerts based on that activity. It's a
Parks at work.
exactly, and it is probably a little bit oversensitive. Maybe Shannon wants to talk about that, but we get a lot of alerts for stuff that
We get a
maybe
lot of alerts.
Yeah.
we get a lot of
Stop
alerts.
looking at my phone, send like a picture.
Mhm.
We get a lot of alerts.
So, but it's free and it's
Yeah, I was just curious what it was. Thank you.
Yeah.
Overall, when the gates open for school, we're rolling good.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest issues, the most time consuming issues that I've had so far have been rostering for the curriculum delivery platforms we use. Renaissance for STAR testing, Amplify for reading curriculum in the elementary, HMH, McGraw Hill, all of these have online platforms that kids log into or can log into to do content delivery, worksheets, whatever they can do online. So getting all of our stuff out of Infinite Campus into Clever, which is a service that is another free service that we're using a lot now, and from Clever into all of these other services so that they can log in with their Google accounts. The third graders don't need to remember 7 different passwords. That's been the biggest hassle, but we're pretty much done with that at this point. Everything's about up and running. So we were about 98% after the first week, and I think we're pretty well good to go.
One other thing that, item number 1, Roman numeral 2. I'm a guest.
Mhm.
I need to get a voucher from an office.
You guys will all be fine. You have school email accounts. Yeah, so that stems from a desire in the high school and middle school to not have open access Wi-Fi for student devices, cell phones in particular. The Chromebooks, the school-owned and managed devices, are still connected to a dedicated network. Right now, we have a staff Wi-Fi, which is what you're probably all connected to now. As soon as one student discovered the password, whether it got left on a teacher's sticky note on their computer or whatever, as soon as one student knew what it was, they all knew what it was. So they all know what it is. So I can change it, but the same problem will happen next week. So moving to now to get on the staff Wi-Fi, you'll need to use your staff email address.
Not Larkspur.
Not correct. Adam knows it by heart. Very good. But that leaves us with the problem of what happens when there will be open Wi-Fi before school, after school, at lunch, and on weekend. It's just open. But how do we, if that turns off during class time, how do we deal with a guest speaker comes into the building and needs Wi-Fi to present something, or a test coordinator comes in and needs Wi-Fi or something? And the best way I found to manage that was with a voucher system, kind of like a hotel does. It's a splash screen that pops up when you try to log on, get a voucher from Connie or Racina or Lou or Jackie, and that gives you 12 hours of access.
What is a voucher?
It's just a little, I think a 12-digit number. Connie's got a stack of them. Racina's got a stack. Lou's got a stack.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
So just it was a way to get around not having open Wi-Fi access for kids for cell phones during the day and still allowing it. It was quite an interesting project. I'd be more than happy to talk about in further detail at another time if you're interested.
All right. Thanks, sir.
All right.
We'll move on to AD, Mr. Hall here. Yep.
I don't have anything to add other than the number adjustment, which we already heard about. The middle school volleyball is 32, not 30. It's the 30, to my knowledge, when I did the report, but then I found out it was 32. Hence the recommendation for Brian Nance. Tournament went well.
Do we know the number of participants in flag football?
12.
How many would you say are double participants as far as?
All of them.
Too many. Yeah, man.
2 cross country and
Yeah.
10 volleyball.
Is there, yeah, I'm sure you keep tabs of their studies, so like GPA, or if there's somebody just really struggling class-wise, would you recommend that they spend more time on the classwork rather than trying to do 2 sports?
We really don't spend a lot of time. If you haven't watched us, you probably noticed that
You're
we
not
have
a
to- we don't
oil
have a lot of-
machine.
we practice once a week for about an hour. So sometimes twice. This week we're practicing twice. We practiced twice this week because we had time on Monday. So we were able to get one more practice, but it's normally once a week for about an hour.
So academic eligibility is not a real problem.
Well, they're all in volleyball, so they have to maintain the grades anyway. So
It's a short season, you're coming up on state like in 2 weeks.
the Visionals is this weekend in Hamilton, and then next week 2 days of state in Bozeman. And that's only about a month, a little over a month.
Was this a 3-year grant through Atlanta? Is that?
Yep.
Falcons,
Yeah.
3?
Atlanta Falcons paid for everything. So first year we got 100% of whatever we needed, then it goes 75, and then next year 50%. Which you need less because you've already got the footballs, you've already got the uniforms. So
And because it's a grant is why we never really hired the coaches.
yeah, it's just a club sport.
As far as, do you have to file a report of how the funds were spent? Is there?
Yes. Yeah, and it's this year since we have motels, and it's gonna be, we won't know that till the end because we don't know how much it's gonna cost for food, motels, at the end of the year, we can break it all down for. the
And Adam
activity
handles that
account.
through like a different code.
It's
for-
the activity account
Yeah,
through Lou.
it'll wash itself out. They sent it directly to me. I've got to do some reconciling of what's already been spent. And then the remainder will be activities, but it'll all be, how much was it? 10 grand this year?
Yeah.
Doesn't go far.
It's 12 grand last year,
Yeah.
so it's probably what, 8 or 9,000 this year. Yeah.
More schools are doing it. Is that?
Yeah, there was 5. There was 3 the first year. There was 5 last year, and there's 17 this year across the state, 4 divisions.
I wanted to commend you and thank you for getting next week's schedules out on a timely manner with updated times, and leave times, and game times. It's nice having that notice out as soon as possible. I know you were kind of buried and you're doing a heck of a
Oh, I
job.
still am.
Well, I know. I know. We can almost see you now, so you're climbing out. But I mean, I know it's tough getting all that stuff organized. But thanks for getting that off in a timely manner.
Thank you, I
It's all
appreciate it.
notified for the public and everybody. So
Doing my best to
great
keep
job.
it up.
Thank you.
So the baseball coach, is that, we're waiting on that again? Or are we waiting for, because we had the one, or is that a question I need to ask outside of the public meeting?
I can answer it. We have to advertise. We have to put in the paper any board members relative to
Oh.
the 4th degree, which means every coach will probably just every
Oh, okay.
board members
So we just have to
relative to
advertise
the
it
4th
on
degree,
there.
which goes all the way down to, I believe. So we're going to have to put that in the paper prior to bringing it to the board. So,
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
It's
I
gonna
was just
complicate
curious about
hiring
that. I didn't, yeah.
tremendously.
Yeah.
Is that
If
a
it was
new-
tough, getting it done before, it's gonna be even
Really
harder now
tough.
that we have to put it in the paper.
Is that a new thing? Or was it just
It's an old thing, but we didn't know about it. It was never, and we don't even have it in our board policy, so,
So
we need
where's
to-
this coming from? MHSA?
Montana code.
Oh,
So is it specifically state's paper or is it just say adequate public?
Says newspaper.
It'd be like intention, has the intention to hire once the decision has been made. Is that my understanding?
It has to be in the paper prior to.
So
Prior to a
so that
decision
any
being
public
made.
can come to the board meeting, right?
Ah.
So they're gonna complicate.
State their claim as to whether or not the position was.
Even rehires?
Yes.
So all of our coaching positions almost are gonna be re-advertised.
Well, not re-advertise. As of moving forward, they're gonna have to be put in the paper.
So if they're already a coach now, it's not gonna have to be done, but if we're hiring for a coach, we have to do it now.
Rehire per
If-
year.
Yeah,
We only have 1 year contract, so
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
approval
So it's
will then go to the board and probably.
but the ones we've already approved, they're
So
approved.
for the year.
Yeah,
There's nothing we can do about what's already been not done.
no,
But it
yeah.
wasn't a board policy.
No, yeah.
So that's kind of why I didn't want to get into it. But
Okay, so I
it's-
was just kind of wondering, because it was
yes,
on here Friday.
it's,
and
it was never a board policy of ours. So
Yeah.
somewhere throughout the history of time, it was never made a board policy for us.
Okay.
And nor were we aware of it. So now we know, and we will do it. And we'll have a policy proposal
For-
soon.
Because MCA trumps.
Right.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Me too.
Oh, you'll continue learning.
Oh, I know.
And we all, but
Right. Good. Thank you. Okay, we are on to elementary principal.
I have nothing more to add unless the board has questions.
Big colorful pictures yet?
Not yet. We've been in school for what, like 10 days? That was kind of
We
bummed.
need more pictures.
Everybody was really busy. I want to ask. I'll have homecoming ones next time.
Everything's going good to start with?
Yeah.
Good.
Everything's good. Everybody seems to be off to a good start. We just finished our first round of beginning of year testing, so we're starting to get that built up, and we're getting ready for mass because that starts in like a couple weeks. Yeah, it's pretty light.
That's good.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. To middle school, high school principal, Mr. Hendrickson.
I don't have anything to add either. Let's see, questions.
Off to a good start in our side of the building over here.
I don't want to jinx this. Answering that question.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, exactly. It's been good.
Yeah.
We were worried about homecoming coming early.
I was gonna say, how did homecoming early
That
affect?
was probably, we might have a trend here.
Really?
It's probably the best homecoming we've had since I've been. Full participation, middle school, high school, on track. We changed a few things up, made it a little more, just did some different stuff this year. And everyone seemed to really like it, so we might have created some new traditions. But it went well, and it wasn't as scary as we thought it was going to be, having it so quick.
Yeah.
Now it's behind us, so we can focus on the school year.
Thank you. Brings us to you, Mr. Sergeant, District.
yeah, and I did, Friday the 13th, that was one of the craziest Fridays for me. I know it went well for homecoming, but last Friday was crazy. So just a couple things. We saved 45, they wanted 50 grand to redo the boiler controls in the elementary. We haven't got the bill yet, but we found the right guy to fix it. So he showed up, got it all. We're not gonna have to replace the controls. We just had to find the right guy from Johnson Controls.
So not 50 grand.
Not gonna cost us 50 grand, not even close. So that was good. Shop's about done. Just need some outlet covers, garage door, everything else is complete. Looking at doing some liability forms for our pilot program for helicopter rides for the pumpkin drop. We gotta work out some issues with free breakfast after the bell. Still working on job descriptions. Jason Moore, the last time I worked with him, he gave us the adjustable tables. He's got a bunch of the new age furniture and a bunch of items to donate. I tried to contact him today. We'll probably he works out at, last time I picked it all up in a pickup out at Job Corps, but I don't know exactly what grant it's through. I wrote it down, but we'll probably be getting some free classroom equipment. Already talked about the Gear Up. Still working on the SPED case loads, working on CPI training, working on a reboot for the Stop It app, and already talked about I was going to talk about the publishing the paper for hiring a board member. The code will be 5112, 15 days before in the legal section. So the whole timing of hiring is going to be a little more difficult with getting it in the paper 15 days before it goes to the board. So we might have more. I mean, it's really gonna take some coordinating to get coaches hired in time, especially since sometimes we are hiring, the day before season starts. But hopefully, we'll get through that. So that's all I had to add.
Well, if that is everything, then the meeting's adjourned 8:13. Sunday, your house?
Here, oh, Sunday, here, oh, I got it, yeah.
Where are we meeting?
I don't know, I got a